Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, yes, and pay attention. Boy. He gonna teach a lesson. The analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, yes, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Charles Bishop is out on assignment, but we got none other than Professor Washington. How you doing, Mike?
Oh, what's going on, Doc? What's up with you? I'm glad.
I'm good.
Glad to be back in the lab.
Man, it's good to have you. It's good to have you. Like old times, my friend. Old times, my friend. With that being said, welcome to episode 261 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, radio show and podcast. The show is covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports, from institutions large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-hosts, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, Ralph Cooper, multi-Hall of Famer, the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. Today's episode of Inside HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting and educational consulting and data analytics. With that, before we get in there and get into some of the lighter side and talk about the general sporting context about giving you updated information, what's hot and what's not, unfortunately, we have some disturbing news that I know that we need to make sure that we discuss in this opening segment. I'm sure that you've heard by now, Delaware State lacrosse players say they were racially profiled. The traffic stop is brought to you by HBCUsports.com. You also had this picked up as Delaware State was incensed after the lacrosse team's bus stop and search in Georgia. It's written by Kevin Trossolini. The Delaware News Journal was picked up by USA Today in terms of the newspaper. And Delaware State's lacrosse team claims it was racially profiled by Georgia law enforcement. Pretty incensed when you see the video in so many different ways, and just unfortunate and just frustrating for me that we have to spend time to talk about this. But this cannot go being ignored, and it needs to be brought to the forefront. So at least folks know some reality in terms of what's going around. So some of the things highlighted in the article, for those who may not realize, the college women's lacrosse team feels traumatized after its charter bus was stopped by police while traveling through Georgia, an incident that has left the school's president incensed. That incense is quoted. The Delaware State University women's lacrosse team was traveling north on I-95 in Liberty County, Georgia, southwest of Savannah. On April 20th, the Hornets were returning home after playing their final game of the season at Stetson University in Delane, Florida. On April 19th, bus driver Tim Jones was initially told he was improperly traveling in the left lane when the bus was pulled over. According to the DSU student publication, the Hornet newspaper and its website, the Hornet online.com. The incident was first detailed there in the story they published Friday, written by Sydney Anderson, a sophomore lacrosse player who was on the bus. Video accompanying story taken by DSU players. Sania Craft shows an officer saying, quote, "If there's anything in your luggage, we're probably going to find it okay. I'm not looking for a little bit of marijuana, but I'm pretty sure you guys, chaperones, are probably going to be disappointed in you if we find any," end quote. By the time Liberty County Sheriff's Office deputies had begun removing their players' bags from the vehicle cargo bay, the search after asking Jones to open it, police had a drug sniffing dog at the scene. Deputies knew those on board were on the lacrosse team, but proceeded to take these women through this embarrassing situation. And again, quite frustrated, quite incensed, just that these things continue to happen. And you can't even escape this stuff, no matter how much money you make, how much education you have, whether you're on a bus playing soccer, playing lacrosse, football, basketball, it doesn't matter. You have these incidents come up. And what's frustrating is obviously Delaware, in a lot of ways, is throwing everything at this, which is appropriate in terms of pushing it to the governor's office, legislative. But you know, when you get in these interstate things and you have these folks that politicize this mess and try to find a way to justify these things, that a lot of this is going to get lost in terms of how this truly affects women on this team. And there's not enough that I can say that appropriately will bring back what was lost in that situation.
Yeah.
But I needed to say something, and so I put that on the table. I don't know if you want to have any additional words, that Mike, or if that's enough, we can move forward, but I'll leave it to you.
No, that's not enough. And you addressed it, from the Delaware State side. Let me address it from the other side. So in a public address, get this, on just yesterday, the year of our Lord, May 9th or whatever, the Sheriff William Bowman, this is according to a couple others, defended the stop. Quote unquote, "I do not believe any racial profiling took place," end quote. Before entering the motor coach, the deputies were not aware that this school was an HBC or historically Black, or aware of the race or the occupation due to the height of the vehicle and the tent. No personal bags were searched. No personal belongings were searched. As a veteran and former state trooper and the sheriff of this department, I do not exercise racial profiling, allow racial profile, or encourage. Bowman said also no personal items, again, on the bus or persons were searched, negating the accounts of multiple people on the bus. Now, multiple people said bags were pulled out. Multiple people said bags looked in, okay? Once you get into those bags, I have two sons that play lacrosse. You keep everything in those bags. Personal items, gear, everything. Sometimes even phone backup, wallets. You keep everything in those bags. That is team rule. So you are searching personal belongings. What was the motive? What prompted them to do this? The suspicion that this person was driving in the left-hand lane. I'm sorry, I have to put my 2 years of law school on, but that doesn't warrant a search of personal belongings. So I'm incensed by this. The defending of such acts, I'm sorry, it's unfathomable, and I'm sorry that the Delaware State female lacrosse team had to go through this. It's a shame. Virtual members saw their luggage removed before a deputy had begun his explanation. Again, illegal search and seizure. You're supposed to give them a reason for it. You're supposed to give an explanation. Then you search. Multiple people had said they began the search before giving an explanation. And here's the kicker. If you look at the social media, folks were outraged. There were a number of folks outraged. There were a number of folks who defended, saying, well, they do this for everyone. Name me one team. Name me one school where they stopped them without probable cause, pulled their bags out, and taken a dog and searched them without cause and no explanation. Name me one instance that's happened. So yes, there was a lot flying across social media. So I'm really incensed at the defending of the deputies who took place, who orchestrated and basically made an illegal search for whatever reason. So maybe they did know it was an HBCU, but they found out really quickly once they stopped the bus. So those are my thoughts. I'm really, as two boys playing this game, they've seen enough of prejudice. They've seen enough prejudice acts. They've seen enough bias, and this was just outright, straightforward to the point, bias profiling. There's no other way to describe it.
Exactly. And then there's a case where there's exchange with one of the sheriffs that is stated by one of the players, as he talks about that they didn't search, asking, what is this in this box? It was a gift that was given to her for graduation. Came back and the box is open, but they hadn't searched anything. Yeah. I guess we're supposed to say allegedly with all this kind of stuff, but it's tiresome. It's tiresome. It really is tiresome. But and not even going through it, just the ability to navigate the space and having to talk about it. With that being said, let's get into this first break and come back so we can get into the rest of the show. But I could not ignore that and act like we can just talk about sports and everything is supposed to go on without at least providing some semblance of framework of what's out there and what far too many people of African-American descent, minorities, women, however you want to look at it, have to deal with across the framework on a daily basis. With that said, we'll be right back. This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Yes, I'm monotone and solid on the reason. We'll be right back after this break.
Q Time is our classic Atlanta soul food restaurant located in the historic West End. Q Time Soul Food is a family business started by Fred and Christine Crenshaw. Come on in, relax, and sink your chops into our tantalizing, mouth-watering, distinctive soul food with a twist, the Q Time way. 1120 Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard, or call your order in at 404-758-2881. Do you miss your mama's cooking? Then come on down to Q Time, an Urban Passport member.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loot machine. All around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
Press the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Professor Washington. Man, your Panthers did it over on the outdoor track and field. Brought out the brooms, not just for indoor, outdoor, but they did it both for men's and women's. I mean, does that mean you get like double brooms when you do something like that? I'm not familiar with that. I'll let you help me out. But shout out to the Prairie A&M Panthers. This goes a long way and put them in solid position for the All Sports Trophy. Certainly on the men's side, looks like they'll be in pretty good position on the women's side as well to get that done. That's huge. Coach of the Year, Angela Weaver, Prairie A&M University Most Outstanding Women's Track Performer, Stella Kiptu from Alcorn State. Most Outstanding Women's Field Performer is Hannah White, Jackson State. Men's side Coach of the Year is Chris Clay, Prairie A&M University Most Outstanding Men's Track Performer. Carlin Berry Hill, Bethune-Cookman. Most Outstanding Men's Field Performer is Nathan Crawford Wallace, Prairie A&M University. What are your thoughts in terms of Prairie with the daily double?
Oh, man, PV, you know. Shanetta Haskell would be proud on 1876 Sports and Culture. Man.
Good shout out.
A double fact, man. Coach of the Year, Angela Weaver. Most Outstanding Track Performer, Stella Kiptui. Alcorn State, I will acknowledge her. And then Hannah White, Jackson State, Most Outstanding Women's Field Performer. But what do you say to the men's and women's team from Prairie View A&M, a.k.a. The Hill, capturing the men's outdoor track and field championship? It was amazing. I think the Lady Panthers finished with 160 some odd points. I think the next closest team was FAMU at 114 and Alcorn State at 109. So, man, unbelievable performance. And then the men, not to be outdone, finished with 143 points total. That's a lot of points. That's not data points. That's actual field points. And they did the thing. So I know we got time crunch, but I wish we could just acknowledge all of the individual performances. Tremendous performance all around, Doc.
Yeah, good shout out to them. We'll get a chance to make sure we get some of that in. Coming up, though, you have Norfolk State is set to host the 2022 Miac Outdoor Track and Field Championship. That's going to be big. Yeah, North Carolina in the Big South, as they seem to be wrecking shop as they have done over the last couple of years in regards to what's going on there. What other news that you want to talk about?
I want to talk about, this is kind of PV related, but Henry Frazier III has been named Virginia State football head coach. This courtesy of a couple of social media blasts and HBCUSports.com. Henry Frazier, of course, coach of the Prairie View A&M when during their last championship run in 2009, is the 26th head football coach in the history of the Trojans program. So he's succeeding Reggie Barlow, who has resigned from the team after 5 seasons. So congratulations to Coach Henry Frazier III. One of my favorite lines, Dr. Cavil. I'm sorry, I gotta when PV run on his PV hadn't won a championship in years. Keep in mind that I went to PV during that 0-80 or 0-81 stretch. He had the mindset. He got on the mic and said, "This is not your mama and daddy's PV." The room was silent. So I love Coach Henry Frazier III. Love him to death. I wish him nothing but the best. Congratulations to him as he goes into his next step as Virginia State football head coach.
Man, he's been fighting the fight, trying to find a way to continue to move back and prove himself, re-image himself, whatever you want to talk about it. But I'm delighted, excited. He's literally been right up to the doorstep. He was a finalist in maybe 4 or 5 different coachings at the FCS Division II, Miac, and even some outside of that. And he finally, as they say, knocked on that door. He knocked it down at Virginia State. Solid program, so he has a chance to do stuff. I can't wait to that matchup between his alma mater, Bowie State. Down there. Obviously, Prairie View is his alma mater as well in terms of his doctorate, Dr. Henry Frazier III. He was assistant coach over there. In between, obviously, went to Maryland and did some program updates in terms of getting it done, in terms of what he's done. He's won everywhere in regards to what he's done. So I have no doubt that he's going to get it done at Virginia State. But that Virginia State, Bowie State, has been a knockout matchup, and it's just going to the next level when you talk about the relationship between that in terms of the mentor and the mentee. That should be fun in regards to what that should look like over the next couple of years. So glad that you brought that up, put that up. Did want to give an update. SWAC tournament, softball tournament is going on as we speak. We have updates. Alabama State, the number 2 seed, defeats the number 3 seed, Grambling. That's the 2 seed out of the East versus the 3 seed out of the West. 10-2 was that score. You had a close one where you had Prairie, the 2 seed in the West, getting it done against the number 3 seed in the East, 4-3, as that went down to the end. And you had the number 1 seed, Texas Southern, defeating the number 4 seed, and that's the number 1 seed out of the West against the number 4 seed out of the East, Jackson State, shutting them out 5-0, and you have Bethune-Cookman up, getting it done, going in against the 4 seed out of the West. That's East versus West, Southern. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like there. I can give you some early updates before we get into the fact that the Miac softball tournament is coming up and actually starts tomorrow when you have some big matchups. It's 0-0, top of the second with 2 outs in terms of that Southern versus Bethune-Cookman matchup. Fascinating what's going on there. So did want to get into a little bit of that there. What are your thoughts in terms of early scores for softball, SWAC, what may shake out, and then obviously the Miac as well, as you have some intriguing matchups going on that side of the ledger as well?
So I believe it was Bethune and Texas Southern that finished the regular season both at the top. So you had finishing top in the East. I believe their winning percentage was 70%, 17-7. I believe Texas Southern was like 21-3 or 20 and plus and in 3 or 4 games. So you wonder does the regular season translate to tournament play? We talk about this all the time. The same things we talk about in baseball, pitching depth. Are the bats going to stay alive during the tournament? So I'm kind of wondering as I'm looking at some of this matchup, will Bethune, make it through there? Because, technically Prairie had the top batting average from, looking at softball. Bethune was kind of in the middle of the pack. And then if you look at pitching, though, Bethune had the top team ERA. They had the top line of pitchers. So by all statistics and data points, they should roll through this tournament fairly well. So I'll be interested to see if any team is able to knock Bethune off, because even though their batting average, their team batting average is kind of in the mid 250s, 260s, and you typically want a team batting average close to 300, their team ERA pitching is 2.68, below 3. And then the next closest team is Texas Southern with an team ERA of 2.69. So that means they're allowing only less than 3 runs every 9 innings, despite what their batting average. So that defense, that pitching is saying a lot. Will it be able to translate and transpire into the tournament play where you got to go deep into the pitching rotation? I'll be interested to see how that breaks down.
I love the way you break that down, because you talk about the season. It's like the marathon, and then you get into the tournament, which is a sprint. So 2 entirely different styles of running when you compare it to track and field, since we just talked about the championships with Prairie over there in the SWAC. And so it's fascinating looking at how does that go down when you talk about Bethune-Cookman led by first-year coach, coach of the year, Texas Southern, second-year coach, really getting things done. Obviously, Texas Southern has dominated the West, winning 10-plus championships, 12 over the last straight years of dominating that, but only 1 overall championship. So they've been able to get to it, and East has kind of found a way to get it done. Be interesting to see what things change. What will Bethune-Cookman coming out of that division at the top, FAMU mixed in, what will that look like now that you've added these traditional strong programs that came over from the Miac? Fascinating to see what you talked about. Talking about the Miac in the softball tournament as it starts tomorrow, you have the number 1 seed is Morgan State. This is number 1 seed that has actually improved over the last time they number 1 seed and went 16-0 in 1998. They come out into the tournament with 18 league victories. The number 2 seed is Howard University, 17-4 in terms of what they did in the Miac race. The number 3, you have Norfolk State. They are hosting the tournament. So it'll be fascinating to see, can they get an edge by having that part of it come down. And then 4th seed is Maryland Eastern Shore. That is very strong. Started off the season really strong, faltered a little bit, but still were able to get into that top 4. 5 seed is North Carolina Central. 6 is Coppin State. And then you start getting into some of the 7th and 8th seed teams that made the tournament. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like as you continue to get things going. Any general thoughts on the MEAC in terms of they kicking off tomorrow, top 8 teams as well? You can follow those on the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube, just like you can follow the SWAC on the SWAC Digital Network that is also on YouTube.
Yeah, so you look at Morgan State, you look at Howard, Norfolk State, but really my eyes are focused on Morgan State and Howard. And you might ask, well, why, Big Mike? Good. I'm glad you asked. I'm gonna tell you why.
Big Mike?
So look at Howard. Look at the team, how they performed this season. Their team batting average is 300. Their overall team ERA is 4.29. That means they're strong in the bats, but their pitching staff has flailed a couple of times. Remember, with an ERA or earned run average for the team, the better teams typically have ERAs that 3 or below. Morgan State, on the other hand, they have a team batting average nearly 300 at 270, 280. It's fluctuated, but their team ERA is the best of any HBCU softball team that I've tracked. It is 1.52. They're allowing less than 2 earned runs every 9 innings. That is phenomenal. So we'll see, can Morgan State, which has the best team, I believe, in the best record in the MEAC, can they take that through the tournament? Because they're playing some tremendous ball. They're at 29-13, so they basically have the weapons, obviously, in the pitching staff and rotation, and that's one of the key factors that you look for when you're going into the tournament is who has the arms, who has the depth. So they have a rotation of, I think it was 7 or 8 pitchers, but have a team ERA of 1.52. Sometimes when you see that, it's an anomaly. It's like an off data point because it's only based on 2 or 3 pitchers, but they have a team of a rotation of pitchers that should do well in the tournament. So I'm interested. I'm kind of, picking that Morgan State horse to kind of finish, but I'm not ruling Howard out because of their bats.
Oh, good point. Good breakdown. Before we get into this break, I'd be remiss if I didn't give you an update. NCAA issued guidance on NIL. The NCAA Board of Directors offers more clarity on what's considered a booster. That was really the focus. It's not any new rules. They're saying they're going to enforce these old rules in terms of issuing guidance to schools of the intersection of recruiting and NIL. This is brought to you by Tyler Carr HBCU Game Day. The crux of it is really essentially saying that the collectives that you've seen and heard that have been performed out there are recognized as booster or booster groups as well. So that is something to make sure we've heard a little of that trickling down to HBCUs, some folks that are interested in doing collectives. So that's going to be something that individuals are going to have to be mindful of to make sure that they're within the NCAA guidelines and make sure they don't get their institutions in trouble. It'll be fascinating to see where that goes. This kind of leads me to Coach Bray, Mike Bray of Notre Dame, when you had all these other coaches from these Power 5 conferences, football and basketball, having concerns on the portal, if you would, NIL. Mike Bray said what a lot of us were thinking, just shut the hell up, get over it, and figure it out. He said, we're paid a lot of money, and it sounds like we could find a way to get it done. So I appreciate at least one of the Power 5 coaches speaking out pretty much what we've said. Stick with us. We'll be right back. After this break, we'll come back. We're going to take you to Montgomery, live to Montgomery, for the Black College World Series to give you some insight of what's going on now. Because while the games kick off tomorrow, there's some festivities that kick off today. And we will be brought back by A.D. Drew in terms of our clinical professor who's going to give us some insight. Stick with us. We'll be right back after this break to give you some insight as to what's going on in Montgomery I'll be down there tomorrow for the rest of the week. We'll do a show live in Montgomery to give you some updates as well. But let's get some showcases. We'll be right back. Students will be right back after this quick break.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat. Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on? Sure, it's wireless. Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password? Buick Envision 2021. Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable. That's a really tight spot. Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking. Me too. Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Test the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Charles Bishop is on assignment. So you've been getting a little bit of the clinical professor, Drew, but at this time, he's off of his professor training, if you would, and he's actually putting on his work coat as he is the
I'm out doing research today.
Yeah, a little research, live research as we would call it, right? He is, as you know, the Director of Administration and Technology for the Tyson Foods Black College World Series in Montgomery, Alabama. The games kick off tomorrow from the 11th to the 14th, but we actually have an event starting off today. Drew, with that being said, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Let the people know where you're at and what you're doing.
I am currently at the Multiplex at Crampton Bowl. Is a multi-purpose facility that sits next to historic Crampton Bowl here in Montgomery, Alabama. You know, Crampton Bowl was home so many years to Alabama State football, and the Turkey Day Classic is the current home to the Camellia Bowl right now, which is one of those bowls that kick off the college bowl season. And as part of that, when they expanded this facility about 15 years ago, they added a multi-purpose building next to it, which houses not only large enough to have about 5 basketball courts in here, but for us and our purposes, it's housing our Black College 9 Elites Awards Banquet as the kickoff to the Tyson Foods Black College World Series.
Good point. Good point. As people probably have realized now, the tournament consists of Division II programs, NIA programs, the Division II programs playing into the game, none other than some of those top teams. Can you give us an update for those that haven't been following as closely as I? What are the Division II programs that are participating in it, and who are the 4 NIA programs?
Your number 1 seed are the Albany State Golden Rams out of the SIAC. Number 2 seed is Miles College Golden Bears. The number 3 seed is Bluefield State Big Blue, and your number 4 seed Kentucky State Thoroughbreds. in the NCAA Division II bracket. On the other side, the NAIA bracket, Florida Memorial Lions are our number 1 seed. The Ever Waters Tigers are the number 2 seed. The Rush College Bearcats are the number 3 seed. And the Talladega Tornadoes are the number 4 seed. Each of those 2 groups will compete independently in a double elimination bracket, with the exception of the championship games. We follow the SWAC format. Championship game, both brackets are win or go home, one and done in the championship game. And then those 2 winners will come back Saturday for another one and done game to determine who is the 2022 Tyson Foods Black College World Series champion.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Mike, jump in here and ask the follow-up question.
Yeah, well, first, let me say you look rather sharp there, AD. I must say so myself. That's a sharp tie. Man, boy, you cleaning the board of health. So can you give me a sense of kind of the excitement? Because Crampton Bowl, I mean, that was built in 1922. I think the first baseball game there was played that year as well. I forget between who. And to have kind of a historical setting in Crampton Bowl, can you give a sense for kind of the turnout and the excitement level for this year's Black College Baseball World Series?
Well, first of all, about this facility, little known history fact: the first time colored people were allowed in this facility for an event was the Turkey Day Classic in 1924.
Wow.
And obviously, that was Tuskegee and Alabama State. So just put this on a historical, and baseball was the first sport played in this facility. Obviously, now it is a football only facility, with the games for the Tyson Foods Black College World Series taking place about a mile down the road at the minor league stadium of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, the Riverwalk Stadium, home of the Montgomery Biscuits. But today it's been exciting, and the last 3 days that I've been in town, I've slowly seen the momentum picking up as not only myself and other people on the committee are doing more interviews and more social media presence. More people are calling, more people are interested in it. Obviously, you can do social media all you want to, but nothing beats good old fashioned beating the streets and just talking to people, shaking hands and kissing babies and all that stuff. Hey, you look like a baseball player and everything like that. And, I went to the Montgomery Business game on Saturday, and there were 2 young teenagers, probably about 13, 14, just sitting up in the stands, just watching the baseball game. 2 Black teenagers, and they just sit up there by themselves, watch the game, enjoy the game. It's like, y'all really like baseball, don't y'all? Yes, sir. Yes, we do. Here you go. I want to see y'all Wednesday night. And just because I had a couple comp tickets in my hand, it's like I expect to see y'all here Wednesday night. But that's the kind of stuff we do. My day started. I was up at 4:30 this morning because I had to be on a live interview at 6:15 this morning to discuss the Tyson Foods Black College World Series. So I've been wide open.
Yeah.
We appreciate
going back to that history. I also and you can tell me if this is true or not. There were a couple of Negro League World Series games played in the stadium as well, right?
Yes, and now you got me stretched. I believe there was the Montgomery Gray Sox was the name of the team that was based here. Now I cannot tell you the years that they played here, but I do know there is a Negro League presence here in Montgomery, Alabama. In addition to Montgomery being the cradle of the modern civil rights.
Absolutely. Thanks, Doc.
Yes.
I have that question out.
No, that's great stuff. Very historic nature of Montgomery. So many different things to do. You can get down there and see the baseball, but you get a lot of historical factors. Good food as well. So fascinating when you talk about.
And I'm about to eat some of that good food in about 30 minutes.
Certainly. We're going to let you get to it. Just got a couple of follow-up questions.
Go ahead.
In regards to the matchup. Let's get into some of the diamond, what action that's going to go on the diamond. Albany State had a really good season, finished in second with that matchup against Savannah State, made a deep run into the SIC tournament. And so they have another chance to fight for a championship. Out of the teams there, what are your thoughts? What are some of the team people to keep their eyes on as they can obviously, if they can't get there, they can watch on BCSN, the network, to see some of these games.
Well, Dr. Cavil, because of where I sit at on this board, I don't want to forecast. So I'm gonna spin your question a different way, if you would allow me to.
Sure.
Let me tell you this. I've talked to 6 of the 8 coaches, 2 coaches who I have not had a chance to talk to today, but I will see them in a few minutes. But I have talked to them on the phone. These coaches are more excited about coming to this Tyson Foods Black College World Series than winning their conference. This and the players, this means more to the players than their conference championship. Because I think these coaches and these players understand the reality, because our HBCUs feel like they're behind the 8 ball, and they don't. We look about Tuskegee Golden Tigers softball team. Despite their record, despite them going 18-1 in conference, going through and winning the conference championship, and winning was going 30. I forgot what I think they're like 32 or 34-11 now after the tournament. They still wind up playing the number 1 seed. So that's why these teams get frustrated by going to the national tournament. I don't care if it's NCAA, NAIA, D1, D2, D whatever. This means more to these players, to these coaches, just like the Cricket Celebration Bowl means more to these players. CIAA championship means more to these players. Those things mean more to these players than winning their title and going and get beat up in the next round or in the next 2 rounds, because they don't give you a real chance. They don't want you to win the national championship. There will be a national champion when somebody leaves Montgomery on Saturday night.
Oh, perfect. Well said. Well said. Shout out to Claflin out of the CIAA winning the softball championship, as you got the nice plug for Tuskegee. And I was going to congratulate on that, so I'm glad you got that out there. And congratulations to Spring Hill in terms of winning the SIAC. With that being said, we're getting into some action. Softball's going on, getting some updates there. With that being said, we're going to get into our last break, and we will be right back after this quick break.
The top HBCU programs in the nation come to Montgomery, Alabama's Riverwalk Stadium this May 11th through 14th for the Black College World Series. The best Black college baseball teams in the NCAA Division II and the NAIA will battle for Black baseball's ultimate pride. Games will be streamed live at www.mybcsn.net. Tickets are available now online at www.blackcollegechampionships.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Are you ready? It's time. The inaugural Urban NerdCon is coming to Montgomery, Alabama, July 29th through the 31st. Blurs, nerds, and geeks from across the universe will converge on the capital city to see celebrity guests such as The Last Dragon, Tybok, Megan Tandy, and voice actor Dave Fennoy.
Hey, how you doing? I'm voice actor Dave Fennoy with a shout out to all my geeks, freaks, and urban nerds. Just want to let you know I'm going to be there, and I want to meet you at the Urban NerdCon Gaming and Cosplay event. It's happening July 29th through the 31st in Montgomery, Alabama. Hope you want to meet me as much as I want to meet you.
So join us by visiting theurbannerdcon.net for ticket and vendor information. This will be the premier blurred event in the universe. Theurbannerdcon.net. Our heroes, our villains, our stories, everyone's con. See you there.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together, we can be the change.
Press the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna law and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention.
This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Charles Bishop on assignment, but we got Mike to give us some updates of baseball. We hadn't heard from his thoughts in a while. And guess what? The SWAC races have gotten closer. This past weekend, we had matchups that featured the top two teams in each division. And boy, did we have some good games in terms of what took place. FAMU swept Alabama State, which surprised almost everybody. Certainly thought that FAMU could be in the business, but would they take all three? Yes, they were in Tallahassee, but they get it done, which vaults them to the top of the division. So the top four teams in the division, you have Jackson State in the fourth spot at 10-14, having lost two straight. You have Bethune-Cookman sitting at 15-9, winning two straight. Alabama State have lost four, including being swept by FAMU that's at the top. Alabama State is sitting at 16-7, while FAMU is at the top of the Eastern Division now at 18-6, winning 7 straight games, really playing some good baseball. Sitting at 25-23 overall, along with Alabama State. It is also sitting with 25 wins. However, they have 21 losses. Let me let you jump in there and talk a little bit about the East, and then we'll break down what took place in the West, which was fascinating as well.
Yeah, the FAMU, I'm kind of scratching my head on that. They took Alabama and get this. You know, the scores on that were kind of convincing. Close games, 12-7-6, 7-6, and I believe 12-5. So that first game was very convincing, but it seems like FAMU came alive and said, hold up, we are still in the baseball business. Here and here's another data point for you is that FAMU is kind of moving up in kind of the statistics overall as well. They were in the sellers in terms of team batting average, and now they're like sitting at, I'd say, around third, fourth, or fifth. They keep fluctuating, so I don't know what's happening. It seems like FAMU may be that spoiler team as they approach the tournament. So we'll see. They are heating up at the right time of the year, and that's the very end. I believe they are on I think they're on like a 6-game winning streak. So
they won 7 straight.
Yeah. So that's a head scratcher. They are finishing the season unlike how they started the season, if that makes sense. And then you look on the other side and you see Prairie and what they're doing. They have a 2-game lead over, I believe, the next closest team, and that's Grambling. Although I think they won 1 of 3 in that last matchup with Grambling as well. So
before you break that down, let me give the top 4 teams. Really tight in the West. It's looking interesting. Southern 15-9. They swept their last weekend to stay in contention as they were facing Pine Bluff. You had Texas Southern getting it done against Alcorn State, where they swept them as well. Texas Southern, don't look now, they've won 8 straight. They're sitting at 15-9. Grambling took 2 out of 3 on the road. This is the first season series loss for Prairie View. They had won all their series previous to that, including sweeping their last 2 before getting 2 out of 3 at home, taken away from Grambling, which tightens things up a bit, as you were talking about, as Grambling sits at 16-8. They split the series, so they took the last game to get out of there with 2 out of the 3. Prairie View still at the top, sitting at 18-6. Losing their last game to Grambling. So 2-game lead as you're talking about, and they have their last 2 on the road. They go to Southern, and then they finish with the rival, Texas Southern University. So this should be interesting in terms of some of these final matchups. Yeah, Texas Southern facing off against Grambling. So it's going to be some intriguing matchups as we close out the season and see what takes place. Again, break it down. What are your thoughts in terms of the races going down the stretch? You can dip into some of those matchups this past weekend, or you can look forward as we'll take a deeper look forward on Thursday as we talk about some of those games in the Tyson Black College World Series.
So don't look now, but I don't think nobody is wanting to play Texas Southern right now. They are pretty hot. They beat out, you can say Alcorn, they Pine Bluff, and these are convincing games, 17-6, 11-1, 11-2, 12-6, 13-3. I think the closest margin of victory in the last 8 games for them has been a 2-point win. Everything else has been almost lopsided. They beat Southern 10-9. They beat in a 2-game stretch 9-7. So here's another data point that may not stand out at you. Now listen closely. If you look at the top 10 batters, if you look at the top 10 in hitting, whenever you have at least 3 or 4 of your team, your members of your team in the top 10 in batting average, that's a data point. That's something that makes your eyebrows go up. And if you look at the top 10 in batting in the conference, there are 2 teams with 3 folks in the top 10 in terms of batting average, meaning a third of your team is in the tops in the SWAC. There's 2 teams. That's TSU and Prairie View. There's a couple of others straggled in there. Grambling State has 1, then Jackson. And if you go to 15, Texas Southern has another 2 in the top 15. So half of their leading lineup is in the top 15 in batting average. What does that tell you? Glad you asked, Big Mike. That means Texas Southern's bats are hot. And they are going to take that into the playoffs. You hope their pitching can keep up, but that's the hottest team playing right now. Prairie View is doing good. They just lost that 3-game stint with Grambling, as you alluded to, but they are still a hot team as well. I would watch out the Ides of May. We say the Ides of March, a little Shakespeare, but the Ides of May have their eyes set on Texas Southern with those bats warming up in the way they have.
Great information, great breakdown. I look forward to the end of this race. It's going to be fascinating to see how things are going to turn out into these races. And then you go over to the Miac where you have some matchups there. When you talk about breaking that down, it's close at the top as well. You have Norfolk State in 4th spot, sitting at 12-18. So they're 5 games back. They lost their last game. You have Maryland Eastern Shore, 15-15, just 2 games back. They won their last one. Delaware State is sitting at 16-14, winning 2 straight. They're just 1 game back, sitting at the top of the conference is Coppin State, sitting at 17-13, but they don't have a lot of room for error. They have lost their last 2, which shrunk the lead that they have, putting Delaware State and Maryland Eastern Shore right in position in terms of over the last week or so to see if they can make a move. What are your thoughts in terms of the Miac, just how close this was? This thing has been close all year long. You thought you might have seen Coppin State kind of stretching things out as they sat last week, but just you would have thought it closed back in that quick this week. Any thoughts on the Miac in terms of the
yeah, I kind of thought, like you said, Coppin State was going to run away with it. They lost to, who was it, Delaware State, 12-4, 0-7. So a very low offensive output at the end of the year. They're not ending up where you want them to be. Yes, they're tops in the division, but you want your team to be moving on all strides as you move into the tournament season. So they also had key losses to they did have 1 loss to Maryland Eastern Shore. They won 3 out of 4 there. But you like to say that Coppin State is one of the favorite teams going in. But you can't rule out Delaware State or Maryland Eastern Shore by any stretch. I'd say by any stretch, Delaware State. So it's you don't have, this is not going to be a 1-horse race here. It's going to go down. So
fascinating. Sticking with baseball, independent, the North Carolina A&T continues to struggle to just 1-16 in the conference race, 13-33 overall. They lost their last 5 games. Bit of a struggle. Not much better in the independent programs for softball. Those seasons or regular seasons coming to the end as they get into the tournament. In the Big South, you have Hampton and North Carolina and the two HBCUs in the conference sitting at 9 and 10 of a 10-league race. Hampton is sitting at 17 and 20, while North Carolina is 3 and 22 in the race. And then you have Tennessee State 10 in the OVC as they sit at 6 and 22. Not a lot to break down there, just not playing very good baseball. Tough in terms of what they're getting done. Looks like the season is going to come to a merciful end for those. With that being said, let's bring the show to an end. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and your colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Hope you enjoyed our guest, clinical professor, A.D. Drew, giving you some updates on the Tyson food. Black College in Montgomery, as they were getting ready for the banquet, looking sharp there, getting it all done. I'll be in there tomorrow to give you some updates on Thursday, to give you some live action. Charles is coming in. Looks like he'll be calling some games. So make sure you check us out, the Tyson Foods Black College World Series on BCSN. You can catch it on the website, or you can download MyJBN, MyBCSN to make sure you catch the games this next couple of days. Should be fascinating, some big time games there. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watts and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday right here at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. We look forward as we discuss the latest Thursday and giving you some live action. We'll have some special deliveries too, so keep all your updates as we'll give you some updates as we might do some shows, some updates in between the action a couple of days there as well. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyatta Cavil. Again, that's DrKenyatta Cavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube is Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Like, share, and subscribe. Shout out to all the lab listeners out there. I didn't forget you. I know you're showing us love. Just wanted to shout out for the lab listeners. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Mike?
Of course.
Roy?
Lecture.
Dismiss.